Hi students, here I am with the lecture number 6 on current electricity. See, in this lecture we will learn about the basic definitions on electric circuit, Kirchhoff's laws. There are two Kirchhoff's laws, Kirchhoff's current law and voltage law. We also learn about the Wheatstone's bridge, the balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge, and we will learn about the application of Wheatstone's bridge, that is meter bridge, its construction theory and working. Now, coming to this basic definitions, why first of all Kirchhoff's laws are required? See, Ohm's law can be used only for simple circuits. For complicated complex circuits, we cannot use Ohm's law. Therefore, we use Kirchhoff's laws. Very simple. Ohm's law can be used only for simple circuits. If the circuits includes 2 cells, 3 cells, complex network, we cannot use Ohm's law. Therefore, we use Kirchhoff's laws. Now, basic definition related to the electric circuits. First of all, electrical network. What is an electrical network? It is the combination of electrical network is the combination of various circuit elements. When I say circuit elements, it can be resistors, inductors, capacitors, so on, and the voltage source. So, combination of various circuit elements like resistors and voltage source like cell. So, the combination of cell and resistors in a simple or complicated manner, that is called electrical network. Node or junction is a point where a number of conductors meet. It is a point in an electrical network. Node or junction, it is a point in an electrical network where 2 or more conductors meet. Mesh, which is also known as loop. It is a closed path for the current to flow in an electrical network, electrical circuit or network. A closed path for the current to flow is called loop or mesh. So these three definitions remember. Electrical network, the combination of a cell and a circuit element like resistor. Not only one cell, you can include any number of cells and any number of resistors. So that is called electrical network. Node or junction, it is a point in an electrical network where 2 or more conductors meet. Loop or mesh is the closed path for the current to flow in an electrical network. So that is one thing. See, as I told you, Kirchhoff's law is applicable only for the simple circuits. Now suppose if it has to be applied for complicated circuits, we have to use the Kirchhoff's law. Ohm's law is applicable only for simple circuits, Kirchhoff's law for any circuit. There are two laws. The law number 1 is Kirchhoff's current law and the law number 2 is Kirchhoff's voltage law. Kirchhoff's current law is also known as Kirchhoff's first law and junction rule. Here you notice in this diagram, first of all, O is the junction node and there are currents coming in. I1 is coming in, I2 is coming in, I3 is coming into the node, but I4 is going out. Observe the arrow marks, that's it. I1 is entering, I2, I3 entering, I4 is leaving. The law is very simple. At a junction, at a node in an electrical network, the sum of incoming currents is equal to the sum of outgoing currents. That means I1 I2, I3, sum of I1, I2, I3, I1 plus I2 plus I3 is equal to I4, because sum of incoming currents is equal to sum of outgoing currents. Current cannot stay at the junction. Therefore, whatever the charge that comes, the charge should go away. Therefore, it is based on the law of conservation of charge. Remember that. So here, incoming currents are taken with the positive sign and the outgoing currents are taken with the negative sign. Look at this equation. I1 incoming current, positive sign. I2 incoming current, positive sign. I3 incoming current, positive sign. I4 outgoing, negative sign. Suppose if you shift I4 to the right hand side, you will get plus I4. So if you get plus I4, I1, I2, I3, that is sum of incoming currents, is equal to sum of outgoing currents. So the two types of definitions. One, the sum of incoming currents is equal to the sum of outgoing currents at a node in an electrical network. This is the statement of Kirchhoff's current law. Or the algebraic sum of the currents at a node in an electrical network is 0. Check that. The algebraic sum of currents at a node in an electrical network is 0. This law signifies the law of conservation of charge. Remember. So this is Kirchhoff's current law, KCL, junction rule. Now, Kirchhoff's voltage law, very, very important one. The entire chapter, Kirchhoff's laws is based on this one. You have to understand this very clearly. Kirchhoff's voltage law, also known as Kirchhoff's loop rule. Here, the loop rule is very simple. See that in a loop, what will be there? Only two things, cell and resistors. Cell and resistors. Cell will have its EMF. Cell will have its EMF. And across the resistor there will be a terminal potential difference. That means there will be some energy drop across the terminal, across the resistor. So the rule, the Kirchhoff's voltage law states that the algebraic sum of the IR products in a mesh, the algebraic sum of the IR products in a mesh is equal to the algebraic sum of the EMFs in that mesh. So simple. Suppose if you consider any mesh, any loop electrical network, the algebraic sum of the IR products, current into resistance, algebraic sum of the current and resistance products, IR products, the algebraic sum of the IR products across different parts of the mesh is equal to the algebraic sum of the EMFs in that mesh. Perhaps you will understand this rule only when you understand one example. Until then there will be no clarity. So listen to the statement. Algebraic sum of the IR products is equal to algebraic sum of the EMFs in a loop in a mesh. This is KVL, Kirchhoff's voltage law. Or this also can be stated like this: the algebraic sum of the changes in potential around any closed loop involving resistors and cells in the loop is 0. This is little complicated. Go by the first definition. The algebraic sum of the IR products in a mesh is equal to the algebraic sum of the EMFs in that mesh. So simple. And if you want to understand that very clearly, first of all we should understand the guidelines to use, sign conventions for analyzing the electrical network. Sign conventions, rules for analysis of the network. Point number 1, please listen. Point number 1, current directions are marked arbitrarily. See, if you have a network, in a network there will be resistor connected with another resistor, connected with cell, say one more cell, something like that. There will be electrical network. So in an electrical network, you just mark the directions of the current the way you want in different parts. in different parts of the mesh, in different parts of the loop, mark the directions of the currents the way you want, in any way. Say for example, if ABCD is the mesh, from A to B you can mark current, and from B to C you can mark, and again in the reverse direction you can mark. That means you can mark the direction of the currents arbitrarily the way you want. Second one, see that in the loop you can traverse the mesh either in the clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. Second condition. So two conditions: you can mark the directions of the currents in different parts of the mesh arbitrarily the way you want. So you can mark the current direction from A to B or B to A, it is your choice. B to C or C to B, your choice. And C to D or D to C, your choice. And D to A or A to D, your choice. So you can mark the different directions of the different parts, directions of the current in different parts arbitrarily. That is one thing. Second one, you can traverse the mesh either in the clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. So only one option, you have to traverse either in clockwise or in anti-clockwise. Then the third important point, while going, if you are moving from, say if you are moving in the direction of the current, marked current, if you are moving in the direction of the marked current, then the IR product is taken with positive sign. Remember, if you are moving in the direction of marked current, IR product is taken with positive sign. If you are moving in the direction opposite to the marked current, opposite to the direction of the marked current, then you have to take the IR product with negative sign. Very simple. Say if you are moving from A to B, current is also going from A to B, then whatever the IR product between A and B should be taken with positive sign. Say you are moving from A to B, A to B. If you are moving from A to B, current is also flowing from A to B and marked current, then IR product in A and B, in between A and B, is taken with positive sign. Say for example, you are moving in this direction, current is flowing in the opposite direction, then in that case IR product is taken with negative sign. Hope it is clear. It will be more clear when we look at the example. So IR product is positive if we traverse the mesh in the direction of the current. IR product is negative if we traverse the mesh in the opposite direction. Similarly, EMF, while traveling from say A to B, if you move from, what is that? Increasing potential. If you move from negative terminal to positive terminal, then EMF of that cell is positive, because you are moving from lower potential to higher potential. EMF of the cell is taken with positive sign. If you are moving, say for example, when you are moving from A to B, if you come across the negative terminal first, then positive terminal, then the EMF of the cell should be taken with positive sign. If you are moving from positive terminal to negative terminal, then the EMF of the cell is to be taken with negative sign. That's it. So this is the thing. IR product is positive if we traverse the mesh in the direction of the marked current. IR product is negative if we traverse the mesh in the direction opposite to that of the marked current. EMF of the cell is taken positive if we travel from negative terminal to positive terminal. EMF of the cell is taken with negative sign if we travel from positive terminal to negative terminal in a mesh. So you will have very clear picture once you learn an example. Now just look at this example, dear students. Explanation. Here we have got an electrical network. In this electrical network, in the first branch, we have got a cell of EMF E1 and a resistance, a resistor of resistance R1 is connected. Similarly, in that middle part, we have got the resistor of resistance R2, but there is no cell. In the last branch, we have got the EMF, cell of EMF E2 and the resistor of resistance R3. So here we have named this A, B, C, and this point is D, and this middle point is E, F, and again A, B, C, D, E, F, A. So here we have got 3 loops totally. The loop number 1, I can say that A, B, E, F, A, the first loop. A, B, E, F, A. This is the first loop. What is the second loop? Second loop is B, C, D, E, B. B, C, D, E, B. This is the second loop. The first loop is A, B, E, F, A. That is the first loop. That is one mesh. This one is loop, second loop. And the third one is this one, A, B, C, D, E, F, A. You should avoid this one. So if you avoid the middle one, you will get the third loop. Here, one loop you know, second loop you know, and the third loop also you know. Here A is a junction, B is a junction, C is a junction. Junction or a node in an electrical network is a point where 2 or more conductors meet. Similarly, D is a junction, E is a junction, F is a junction. Now you are getting the clarity. Okay, fine. Now we have to apply KVL, Kirchhoff's voltage law. How we have to apply KVL? Point number 1, mark the directions of the current in different parts of the mesh arbitrarily. See that first we have marked the current here from F to A. Current is flowing from F to A. That is marking I1. I1 is flowing from F to A. I can mark in the opposite direction also, but I have taken a chance of marking from F to A. That is one current. And again I have taken I3. I3 I have marked from B to E. I can also mark it from E to B, but I have marked it from B to E because I can mark the way I want. There are two choices, either from B to E or E to B. I have taken this choice, that's it. And it makes no difference at the end. And similarly, in this part, the current is flowing from D to C. The current, marked current, the current which I have marked is flowing from D to C. Actual current may differ. Actual current may flow from C to D, or it may flow from D to C also, whatever. So I can mark the currents in different parts of the mesh the way I want, arbitrarily. There is no rule for it. Rule in the sense you have to mark like this only. There is no rule for it. You can mark it the way you want. So that is point number 1 is very clear. Second point, you have to traverse the mesh either only in clockwise or in anti-clockwise. Any one option, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Finish. So if you choose a loop, you can travel the loop in the clockwise direction or in the anti-clockwise direction. That's it. And the third condition, while traveling, IR product is taken positive if you are traveling in the direction of the marked current, or else negative. While traveling, if you meet the negative terminal of the cell first, then you have to consider the EMF of that cell to be positive. While traveling, if you meet the positive terminal of the cell first, then you will have to consider the EMF of that cell to be negative. That's it, very simple. So I think it is very clear. So therefore you have to follow this. Now once we follow that, we will apply KVL and get a equation. See, applying Kirchhoff's second law to the loop ABEFA. First we will apply the Kirchhoff's law for the loop ABEFA. ABEFA. We will apply that rule. Okay. So, say for example, we will start from B. Now I'll start from B. I'll go to E, then E to F, then E to F, from F to A and A to B. I have to complete once. That is a closed path for the current to flow is called what? Mesh. So I'll start from B. Okay. So I start from B. I am moving now from B to E. I am choosing this what path? This path. This is anti-clockwise. I am choosing to move from B to E, E to F, F to A to B. So that is anti-clockwise. So I can choose the way I want. So I am going from B to E. Current is also marked to flow from B to E only. Therefore IR product I will take positive. That is I3R2 positive. See, I have taken with positive sign here. I3R2 positive sign. Hope it is clear. Then what next? I have to go from E to F. I have to go from E to F. While going from E to F, there is no resistor. Therefore there is no IR product. There is no resistor. There is no IR product. I need not consider any IR product. Now I have to go from F to A. F to A. So while going from F to A, see that the current is also flowing. The current flowing is I1 here. See, look at this one. The current flowing in the first branch is I1. So I am going in the direction F to A. Current is also marked. Current is also flowing in the direction F to A. Therefore I1 R1 is positive again. See, I have taken that with again positive sign. And similarly in that loop, I am meeting the negative terminal of the cell first. What it means? While moving, while going, while traversing, I am meeting the negative terminal of the cell first. That means I am moving from lower potential to higher potential. Therefore I need to consider EMF of the cell E1 to be positive, and that too after the equal sign. See that after the equal sign I have to write plus E1. So this is very simple, very clear, I believe. I repeat again the same thing. Please listen. See here, for the first loop I will apply KVL. I will start moving from B. So B to E. While moving from B to E, current I3 is marked to flow from B to E only. Therefore I should now consider I3 into R2 positive. I3 R2 positive. The sum, the product of current and resistance is positive. While going from E to F, no resistor. Therefore no IR product. While going from F to A, there is a resistor and current flowing is I1. Check the direction. Direction of the current and the direction in which I am moving is also same. Therefore I1 R1 is positive. So now I3R2 positive plus I3R2 plus I1 R1 is equal to plus E1. Why plus E1? Because I am moving from lower potential to higher potential. Therefore after the equal sign, take that cell as positive, and again from A to B if you come, there is no resistor and therefore there is no IR product. The thing is over. So you applied the KVL for the first loop and got one equation. Very similarly, apply the KVL for the bigger loop. I say bigger loop, that is A, point A, then B, then C, ABC, then D, E, F, A again. So one complete. Okay. Now here we choose to travel in the clockwise direction. If I choose to travel in the clockwise direction, say I start from D. If I start from D, again I have to end at D only. So if I start from D, D to C I will travel, then C to B I will travel, then B to A I will travel, again A to F I will travel, F to E and E to D. So I am traveling that loop. Now I have chosen to travel in the clockwise direction, that's it. Earlier I choose to travel in the anti-clockwise direction, now I am choosing in the clockwise direction. So I will start from D. What is the current that I have marked? I2. And that too current is also going in the same direction. I am also going in the same direction, D to C, therefore I2 R3 is positive. Remember, I2 R3 is positive. So because the current direction and the direction in which I am moving both are same, and therefore the product current resistance product is positive. And coming to this point, C to B, there is no resistor, there is no IR product. B to A, there is no resistor, there is no IR product. So there is no IR product between C and A. Now from A, I have to move from A to F, but the current is now flowing in the opposite direction. Therefore, I need to consider the IR product to be negative, that means minus I1 R1. Check this here, minus I1 R1. So cell we will consider it later, minus I1 R1. Okay. So now listen again, minus I1 R1. Now I have reached the point F. Again from F to E there is no resistor, there is no IR product. E to D there is no resistor, there is no IR product. I have started from D, one round in the anti-clockwise direction, I came back to D. Now I look at the cells, is equal to, now what did I get? Plus I2 R3 minus I1 R2 is equal to, now look at this cells now, E2 should be taken with positive sign. Why E2 should be taken with positive sign? Because I am moving from lower potential to higher potential in the anti-clockwise direction, lower potential to higher potential. And similarly here, while when I came here I met the positive terminal of E1 first. That means I am moving from higher potential to lower potential, therefore E1 should be taken with what? Negative sign. E2 should be taken with positive sign. I got one more equation applying the KVL for the second loop. You can even apply for the second loop, I mean the other loop, that is BCDEB, and you get one more equation. In this 3 loops are there, 3 equations you can get. This is the Kirchhoff's voltage law, how to apply. This is slightly complicated. Once you understand this, everything further becomes easier. I repeat again, dear students, mark the directions of the current in different parts of the mesh arbitrarily the way you want. Traverse the mesh either clockwise or anti-clockwise. While traveling, if the current and you both are in the same direction, then take IR product positive or else negative, and equals IR product equals. Then while traveling, if you travel from lower potential to higher potential, then the EMF is positive, higher to lower EMF is negative. So IR products on left hand side and EMFs on the right hand side of the equation. With this plus minus sign convention you have to take. We'll move further. We have given lot of time here, and we'll move further and see that Wheatstone's network. Here observe this, this is very very important. Wheatstone's network. Dear students, you have got 4 resistors here, P, Q, R, S. P, Q, R, S are the 4 resistors. These 4 resistors, observe, they are connected in the form of a quadrilateral, cyclic quadrilateral. So 4 resistors connected in the form of a cyclic quadrilateral PQRS. Okay, and between any 2 opposite corners, here B, A, this point is A, this point is B, this is C, and we will call this point as D. These two are the opposite corners. B and D are the opposite corners. Between the opposite pair of opposite corners, galvanometer is connected. Other pair, what is the other pair of opposite corners? A and C. In the other pair of the opposite corners, we have connected a battery and a plug key. That's it. So this is called Wheatstone's network. A Wheatstone's network consists of 4 resistors connected in the form of a cyclic quadrilateral. Between a pair of opposite corners, a galvanometer is connected. Between another pair of opposite corners, a battery and a plug key is connected. This is called Wheatstone's network, Wheatstone's bridge. So it is clear for you, P, Q, R, S, and it is not necessary that you have to name like this only. You can write P here, Q here, R here, S here, no issues. Or you can write the way it is given here also. So this is called Wheatstone's network. So remember, PQ, it contains 4 resistors connected in the form of a cyclic quadrilateral. Between a pair of opposite corners, a galvanometer is connected. Between another pair of opposite corners, a battery and a plug key is connected. So that is between B and D, a galvanometer is connected. Between A and C, a battery and a key is connected. That's it. This is called Wheatstone's network. So having learnt about the Wheatstone's network, check this. Between the other pair of opposite ends, galvanometer is connected and the network is said to be balanced when there is no current in the galvanometer. Here, this network, Wheatstone's network, Wheatstone's bridge, we say it is balanced when the current flowing through the galvanometer is 0. Galvanometer must show 0 deflection. If the current is not flowing in the galvanometer, then we say the bridge is balanced. If the current is not flowing, dear students, please remember, if the current is not flowing through the galvanometer, if the current is not flowing, then the potential difference is equal to 0, because for the current to flow, the potential difference must be there. If the current is not flowing, the potential difference is not there, which means this point B and this point D both are at the same potential, potential difference is 0. Because the potential difference is 0, the current will be 0. When the current is 0, the bridge is balanced. When the bridge is not balanced, then B, the point B and the point D are at different potentials, the current will flow. When the bridge is not balanced, the current will flow through the galvanometer. When the bridge is balanced, the current will not flow through the galvanometer. The points B and D will be at the same potential. That's it. So having learned that, move further. Just now I told, what is the thing that I told? Balancing condition of Wheatstone's network. What is the balancing condition? The current through the galvanometer must be equal to 0. That is one condition. That is Ig, current flowing through the galvanometer must be equal to 0, which means the points B and D at the same potential. If, remember, if Ig is equal to 0, then this ratio P divided by Q, P by Q is equal to R by S. P by Q is equal to R by S. This happens when Ig is equal to 0. Now you can state 2 conditions for balancing condition. 2 statements, you can give 2 statements for balancing condition. 1, the current through the galvanometer is 0, the bridge is balanced. Otherwise, P by Q, here the ratio of the resistance in adjacent arms, P by Q, is equal to R by S. Or you can even tell P by R is equal to Q by S. P by R, P divided by R. You can rearrange this equation. P by Q is equal to R by S, and if you rearrange, you will get P by R is equal to Q by S. These are the 2 conditions for the bridge to be balanced. If one condition is satisfied, automatically the other gets satisfied. If one satisfied, if Ig is equal to 0, then P by Q is equal to R by S. Or if P by Q is equal to R by S, then Ig is equal to 0. So this is the condition for balanced Wheatstone's bridge. Balanced Wheatstone's bridge. We have to arrive at that condition. We have to derive that condition. Balancing condition we have to arrive at. Very simple. So understand the current flow mechanism here. From the battery, the main current comes. I is the main current, and this main current I splits into I1 and I2. I1, the current flows through P. I2 the current flows through Q. And again it comes to the point B. What comes? I1 comes to the point B, current. After flowing through P, it comes to the point B. Here again it splits. A part of I1 flows through the galvanometer, that you call it as Ig. That means I1, out of I1, Ig goes through the galvanometer. And what is the remaining current? What is the remaining current? If in I1, Ig goes through the galvanometer, remaining is I1 minus Ig. That I1 minus Ig goes through R. That I have called it as I3. I3 here is equal to, please remember, I3 here is equal to what? I1 minus Ig. See here, I'll tell you the example. If 10 ampere comes, 10 ampere is coming, this I1 is 10, it is coming. Out of the 10 ampere, if 1 ampere goes through the galvanometer, what is the remaining current? 9 ampere should go here. So what is 9? 9 is 10 minus 1, correct? 9 is 10 minus 1. So what is 10? I1 minus Ig is equal to I3. So what is I3? I3 is equal to I1 minus Ig. Hope you are understood. So now coming to this one, if you stand at the point D, node, it is a node, apply KCL. What is the incoming current? I2. What is one more incoming current? Ig. So that means I2 is incoming to the node D, Ig is also incoming, both the currents will add up and it will go to S. It will go to S. That means I4 is equal to I2 plus Ig. I4, because incoming, this is also incoming, I4 is outgoing. So therefore outgoing should be equal to I2 plus Ig. Now just check this. If you stand at the junction C, what is incoming from B? Incoming from B is I1 minus Ig. What is incoming from D? It is I2 plus Ig. So one minus Ig, the other one plus Ig will cancel. Again I1 plus I2. I1 plus I2 becomes equal to I, and the same current will flow. So understand the current flow mechanism properly. If you have understood the current flow mechanism, no longer it is difficult. If you want, I can repeat that, but there is no point. You just can go back, halt, go back and look at the same video. So this is the current flow mechanism in the Wheatstone's bridge. Now let us get back to this one. Here please observe I1, I2, Ig. I1 is the current flowing through P, I2 is the current flowing through R, Ig is the current flowing through the galvanometer. What is I1 minus Ig? It is the current flowing through Q. Current flowing through Q. And I2 plus Ig is the current flowing through S. So small change here. This is P. This we will consider it as Q. Instead of R here, consider it as Q. And this R you shift here, Q shift here. That's it. So what is the current flowing through Q then? Current flowing through Q will be I1 minus Ig. What is current flowing through S? Current flowing through S will be I2 plus Ig. That's it. What is current flowing through here? R. This is R. This is R. Current flowing through R is I2. Current flowing through Q, I have told you, don't get confused. Replace R and Q. That's it. You replace R and Q. So if you replace R and Q, you will understand. Now listen properly. What is the current flowing through P? I1. What is the current flowing through Q? Q is this. For the time being, understand Q is this. Current flowing through Q is I1 minus Ig. What is the current flowing through R? I2. What is the current flowing through S? I2 plus Ig. What is the current flowing through galvanometer? That is Ig. What is the current coming from the battery? Current coming from the battery is I. Current going to the battery is also I. So very clear. So if that is clear, we can now move on to the things if you have to remember. So what is I1? current flowing through P. What is I2? Current flowing through R. What is Ig? Current flowing through the galvanometer. What is the current flowing through the resistor Q? It is I1 minus Ig. Through S it is I2 plus Ig. Okay. Applying voltage law to the mesh BDA. To the mesh BDA. Now go back. Mesh BDA. If you apply that, see this one, I1P. P is the resistance, I1 is the current, product of current and resistance, I1P plus IgG. Ig is the current through the galvanometer, G is the resistance of the galvanometer. I stress resistance of the galvanometer. G is not galvanometer, G is the resistance of the galvanometer. G, IgG. And I have to move from D to A, therefore minus I2Q is equal to 0. All that sum is equal to 0. Why? In that mesh BDA, there is no cell, there is no EMF. Therefore, I1P plus IgG minus I2Q. Why minus sign? Because I am moving from D to what? D to A. I am moving from D to A. Got it? I am moving from D to A, and therefore yes, and therefore this actually this is R. I told you, if you remember, this is minus I2R. This is minus I2R because I am moving from D to A. So therefore that is equal to 0. So just check that. I1P plus IgG minus I2R is equal to 0. That equation is very clear for you. Why minus I2? Because I am moving from D to A. Now while studying, while looking at this, you can keep the notes with you. If you keep the notes, you can easily follow the diagram. You need not go back always. You can keep the notes, the study material, the PDF material that I have given, and you can just verify that. Suppose if you apply voltage law to the mesh CDB, CDB. Now check what is here. From C to D, this one, this is S only, I4S, then again minus IgG, then I1 minus Ig into Q, is equal to 0 again, because there is no cell in the second mesh also. So just check that. I1 minus Ig into Q minus I2 plus Ig into S minus IgG is equal to 0. Why here minus sign? Because we are moving in the direction opposite. Why here minus sign? Through the galvanometer also we are moving in the opposite direction, that is equal to 0. So equations 1 and 2 we got it by applying KVL to one mesh, KVL to the other mesh. We got these two equations. Now with these two equations we can arrive at the balancing condition. Now the bridge is said to be balanced. The bridge is said to be balanced if no current flows through the galvanometer. That means Ig is equal to 0. If you put Ig is equal to 0, the equation 1 becomes I1P minus I2R is equal to 0. Then the equation I1P is equal to I2R. Similarly, second equation, if you put Ig is equal to 0, you will get I1Q minus I2S is equal to 0. That means I1Q is equal to I2S. So we have got now equations number 3 and 4, and if you divide 3 and 4, I1 and I1 goes, what remains on the left hand side is P by Q. I2 and I2 goes, what remains is R by S. P by Q is equal to R by S. That means the ratio of the resistances in the adjacent arms of the Wheatstone's bridge is equal to the ratio of the resistances in the other pair of adjacent arms. So P by Q is equal to R by S. This is the balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge, or Ig is equal to 0. That means if Ig is equal to 0, this condition automatically gets satisfied, or if P by Q is equal to R by S, then Ig is equal to 0. Both are okay. So this is the balancing condition of Wheatstone's bridge. And here we have got few points to be noted. One, in the balancing condition, when the bridge is balanced, the points B and D where the galvanometer is connected, it will be at the same potential. That is the reason the current does not flow through the galvanometer. And when the current does not flow through that galvanometer is not included in the circuit. You can just imagine that the galvanometer is not included in the circuit. If the galvanometer is not included in the circuit, then the resistors P and Q are in series, and below R and S are in series. Those two resistors are in parallel. And one more thing, suppose if you replace galvanometer by any other resistor, the balancing condition does not alter, because balancing condition, that means the current through the branch where the galvanometer is connected should be equal to 0. So the balancing condition does not alter if the galvanometer is replaced by any other resistor. One more important point, suppose in the place of galvanometer if you connect a battery and a key, and in the place of battery and a key if you connect the galvanometer, that means if you interchange the positions of the galvanometer and the battery, then the balancing condition does not alter again. So these are the 4 important points, you note down them. And applications, Wheatstone's bridge is used to find the resistance of a wire. It is also used to compare the resistance of 2 wires. These are the applications of the Wheatstone's bridge. Students, we had one more topic, that is about the meter bridge, that we will learn in the next session only. So today we have learned about the Kirchhoff's laws, some basic definitions, Kirchhoff's first law, junction rule, current law, algebraic sum of the currents is equal to algebraic sum of the currents, incoming currents is equal to algebraic sum of the outgoing currents at a point in an electrical network, at a node in an electrical network. We have learned that KVL we have learned. We now know the guidelines for applying the KVL. Example, and most importantly, remember KVL is based on the law of conservation of energy. IR product is energy, current into resistance is energy, EMF of a cell is energy. Therefore, it is related with energy equal to energy. IR product is energy equal to energy. That's it. It is based on the law of conservation of energy. So KVL signifies the law of conservation of energy. That is one important point. KVL and its explanation we have learnt. And we also have learnt about the Wheatstone's bridge and the application, balancing condition of the Wheatstone's bridge, and also the applications of Wheatstone's bridge. And in the next class we will learn about the meter bridge and potentiometer. Those are the only 2 things left over.